Bonjour, bonjour, on se retrouve pour une vidéo sur Metal Gear Solid 5, sur Phantom Pain, pour la suite de nos aventures.
The side ops list is comprised of problems we need you to resolve. Objectives to be completed, and information gained from the soldiers and prisoners you've extracted. These aren't missions per se, but if you can take care of them when you're free, I'd appreciate it.
Ok, donc on va faire une ou deux petites missions secondaires, qui je l'espère prendront pas trop de temps, parce que je vais faire une petite vidéo. Alors, c'est parti. Les missions secondaires. Ah, enfin. Donc, extrayer l'interprète russe ou un soldat hautement qualifié dans les rangs ennemis. Ok, donc on va faire l'interprète russe, comme ça normalement tout ce qu'ils diront ça sera traduit, ce qui peut être très pratique.
Marker placed.
Ok, bah c'est parti. Hein. Là, comment là? Ok, on va peut-être y aller en hélicoptère.
Please select a landing zone.
Tu peux pas atterrir là? Tu peux pas atterrir là. Ok. Bon, bah ça m'intéresse pas trop. Hein. Ok, c'est pas grave. On va y aller avec le dada. On va y aller avec le dada. Il est où? Il est par là? Il est là.
Yeah!
On va essayer, mais... Non, il faut pas. Non, il faut pas. Ok, super, tu y vais comment alors? Je passe par le haut. Ok. Là, je peux y aller. Ok. C'est trop. Ok. Pourquoi je sens qu'on va galérer pour escalader? On va devoir passer par l'autre camp. Non, ok. On va devoir faire un gros détour en fait. Ouais. Ouais, c'est quoi ce bordel? Appuyer comment? Appuyer par là, d'accord, ok. D'accord. Ça fait bien ou pas? C'est vrai.
Say, boss, you see many animals in the field. Truth is, an environmental NGO has asked us to remove wild animals from combat zones. If you have the time, can you extract some back here? There's a reward in it for us.
J'ai vu qu'il y a des animaux. Oh. C'est déjà. Ouais, mais ça c'est... Non, c'est bon. Je suis rapide. Il est passé où? Pistolet du dodo. Allez, hop. Allez, un bouton de combat, c'est parti. Faire bien armé le bouton de combat. Je vois trop lors de la scène finale face à un super victoire. Avoir 500 boutons de combat derrière moi. Avec ses yeux rouges. Finalement, on sera allé à pied. Donc il voulait d'abord
Extraction
faire,
arrived at Mother Base.
puis après mon dada. C'est quoi ça? C'est quoi ces règles? On est où là? Ok, c'est là-bas qu'il faut aller. Je crois que j'entends là. Je ne sais pas du tout si c'est par le haut, derrière ou si je peux y aller en contournant cette montagne ou non, la sauvegarde, c'est bon signe.
That wild dog pup. He's a tough little guy. Boss, this is no time to be playing with animals. What are you gonna do, boss?
Hein? Je le vois pas. Il est où? J'entends mais je le vois pas. Ah, il est là. Allez. Attention. Hé hé. Allez, je te chope. Tu m'as pas vu, hein? Allez, on t'emmène dans les airbase.
Roger that. We'll pick him up.
A priori... on va peut-être aller en hauteur, voilà. A priori, ça c'est le chien. Qu'on va adopter. Qui va être plus tard notre compagnon. Super chien de combat qui va nous aider. Le chef des motos de combat.
We found out there's an English-speaking soldier somewhere in the region. He's a language specialist. His role is to translate information related to the West into Russian. If we can get him to join us, we'll have the upper hand in information warfare. Find this language specialist and extract him.
Ok. Voyons voir qui c'est qu'il y a là-bas.
That's the target.
3.
Эй, ты же говоришь по-английски? Это непросто.
Ce sera vachement bien quand on va savoir, quand on va comprendre ce qu'il raconte. Ce sera un peu plus intéressant.
Extraction arrived at the mother base.
On va savoir aussi, on pourra sûrement les questionner, donc avoir des informations et donc se faciliter les missions.
Это было неплохо. Правда? Что это значит?
Я друг твоего приятеля.
Ого, это действительно
tranquillement.
полезно. Любые мелочи могут помочь в этой холодной войне.
Точно. Эти слова могут спасти твою жизнь.
Ха-ха, может быть. В следующий раз ты должен научить меня еще чему-нибудь.
Конечно, увидимся.
That Soviet soldier in the Green Beret is speaking English.
C'est lui.
Must be a language specialist. With him on our side, we'd be capable of Russian interpretation support. Try and extract him.
Voilà. Ils sont où les autres? Il est où le deuxième? Ouais. Voilà, il dort. Et le dernier, il est où? Il est dans la maison. Il est dans la maison. Monsieur, tu peux sortir? Je vais t'endormir. Voilà. On va y aller comme ça. Hein. Ah, non. Allez, allez, s'il te plaît. Ils vont pas dormir pendant 3 heures, ces mecs-là. Non, ok, hop, on descend. On va y aller.
You have arrived at your destination.
Donc lui, c'est l'interprète. On va le ramener. Oui. Pareil. Oui.
He's coming too. Roger that.
On sort parce que... Et on l'emmène aussi dans la base.
Side op completed.
Cool.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
On va voir s'il y a des
Unit
trucs à
function
l'intérieur.
added.
Boss, that language specialist you extracted has been very cooperative. Says he's always dreamed of living a free life, like folks in the West. What are the odds, huh? I've gone ahead and placed him in the support unit. His job is Russian interpretation. Now you'll know what Soviet soldiers are saying. You can even interrogate them. Should give you an edge in the mission.
Cool. Ça, je sais pas si on peut l'envoyer ou pas.
Extraction failed.
Il faudra avoir un futon un peu plus costaud. Ok. Bon bah ça on est bon. Alors on va essayer de faire une autre petite mission. Une autre mission secondaire, tiens. Allez.
Marker placed.
Alors, par rapport où on est, est-ce qu'on peut se faire emmener en
Please
hélico?
select a landing zone.
Moi ça me paraît bien, c'est où qu'on doit aller, je ne sais plus. Allez hop, on est bon, on fait ça ici.
Support helicopter
Roger.
requested.
On va appeler Dada. Et alors Dada.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Extraction arrived at Mother Base.
Yeah. 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 Whoa, whoa.
This is B-Quad. Arriving shortly at LZ. This is P-Quad. Have arrived at LZ. Will stand by.
Support helicopter has arrived.
Gaining altitude.
Well placed.
Departing! Prolonged time in the field is bad for the body and mind. I think it's time you took a break. Do it for me. Come back to Mother Base ASAP.
Ok, donc il m'oblige à retourner à ma Mother Base. Donc on fera peut-être une petite mission secondaire à la prochaine vidéo. Je vais peut-être en profiter, je vais voir si on a des cassettes à écouter.
Didi, come back!
Mitch, here's the dog you brought back. Bit of a troublemaker. Not sure about the breed, though. He'll get bigger? Uh-huh. Like this. You know, I can look after him. He's still a pup, so he doesn't listen. I have a feeling someday he'll be useful. I suspect you've discovered a real diamond in the rough. With a little polish, I'd say we got a true diamond dog on our hands.
Ah, il y a un mec crevé comme moi.
DD, right? Hostile at raising hounds. Fine. Come on, Didi.
Boss, welcome home.
Ok, ça permet d'augmenter le moral de mes troupes, de repasser à la Mother Base. On va faire un petit tour d'ailleurs. On va apprécier la vue. Et s'écouter une petite cassette. Alors qu'est-ce qu'on a en cassette?
Christmas Eve, 1979. The Soviet Union rolled into Afghanistan. Muslims had revolted against the Soviet-friendly regime established the year before. The DRA forces could no longer contain it themselves, so the Soviets went in to intervene. The Afghan government was powerless and fraught with infighting. They lost the hearts and minds of the people, and that alarmed the Soviet leadership. With the Islamic Revolution happening in Iran, the Soviets felt they had to act fast or risk the spread of Islamic revivalism. A superpower, sending a motorized rifle division against men on horseback with antique rifles. Everyone thought it'd be over in an instant, only it wasn't. Some Muslims made their fight a jihad, a holy war, and began a guerrilla campaign on all fronts. A war of attrition. These fighters call themselves Mujahideen. They're being supported by the West through Pakistan. That's why Miller was involved. He was training them near the Zero Line, sponsored by the CIA. The war has become a nightmare for the Soviet troops stationed here. They thought they'd be headed home in 6 months at the most. Then a year passed. 2 years. Now here we are 4 years on with no exit in sight. Afghanistan has become the Soviet Union's Vietnam. The Soviet troops on the ground want to go home, but at least they have homes to go back to. The Afghans have lost theirs. The Soviets destroy the kishlaks, villages, wherever they can. They burn down homes and fields, fill in wells, turn pastures into minefields. It's created a mass of refugees who fled to Pakistan. If the Mujahideen are fish swimming around the villages, the Soviets will go so far as to dry out their ocean. But this has had a big price. There's bitter resentment among the Afghans, and they're taking out their anger on the soldiers on the front lines. Among the Mujahideen are the Pashtun people. They're fiercely devoted to their code of Badal, or revenge. Soviets they've captured have had their hands, feet, and noses cut off before being left to die at the side of the road, just to show their comrades what they're capable of. Friendlies who come across them can do nothing but put them out of their misery. Then they burn down another village in retaliation. And the cycle of vengeance goes on.
Ok. Alors, on a quoi d'autre? On va écouter ça.
So SALT II still hasn't gone into effect. That treaty was drawn up to limit not just the size of the US and Soviet Union's nuclear arsenals, but also their delivery systems. The whole deal. Yes, when we thought all those years of negotiations had paid off, somebody decides to invade Afghanistan. The timing couldn't have been worse. The president was in the middle of the SALT II talks back then. You mean while you were busy trying to stop Peace Walker? I heard. President Ford was meeting with the General Secretary in Vladivostok. In his absence, the political brass in America detected what they didn't realize was false nuclear launch data from Peace Walker, and were on the verge of ordering a retaliatory nuclear strike. Coleman's big idea? Humans are incapable of destroying themselves. Turns out he never knew what humans are capable of. If that AI, I mean, the boss, hadn't found a way to stop the fake data transmission, they probably would have gone ahead with the launch. Deterrence was revealed as the pipe dream it was. All thanks to you. And her. The US-Soviet talks looked set to fall through. What happened in Nicaragua no doubt helped trigger a change of heart. But in the end, the time's define the politics. When you've grabbed their tail, they turn and bite your hand. I first met you 20 years ago now. The place was Selenouyarsk in the Soviet Union. We were enemies. I was with the GRU. You were still fighting for America. 1964. Operation Snake Eater. Its objective? The assassination of the legendary soldier known as the Boss. When you returned home successful, they awarded you the title Big Boss. Your CO, Zero, sought to carry on the boss's will by covertly establishing his own organization. You knew the original members from Operation Snake Eater. From America, there was David O, or as he was to you, Major Zero. Donald Anderson, aka Sigint. Dr. Clark, who went by paramedic during the operation. And the fourth, you. From China, there was Eva. And me, Ocelot, from the Soviet Union. 6 in total. To us, government notions of friend and foe were meaningless. As were East and West, we joined forces by our will alone. Our objective was to fulfill the boss's dying wish, to make the world one. And to do it, Zero used the Philosopher's Legacy, the secret war fund you obtained during Operation Snake Eater. This organization would go on to become Cypher. I, on the other hand, was left with the problem. You only recovered half of the legacy. I had to locate the other half myself. When I found the funds, I passed them on to Zero, just as you wanted. I still trusted him in those days. We thought what he was doing was the boss's will. Until he started that one project. Les enfants terribles, Zero called it. You parted ways. As did Eva, leaving only Anderson and Clark still with him. I maintained limited contact. Although, truth be told, we were just keeping tabs on one another. The reason was always you. After you returned to the Army and created Foxhound, you left America. For a time, even I'd lost track of you. I'd imagine Zero did too. You always were the best when it came to hide and seek. Zero created Cypher, an information network to tap into every corner of the globe. Woven together, Cypher's arteries make the world just one big organism. And that's not all. It also monitors the thorn in Zero's side. That's you, tracking your coordinates wherever you might go. The further you strayed from your roots, the larger Zero became. It's as if he was trying to close the gap between you. But before long, he disappeared from public life. Only a few people had direct contact with him. For a time, I was one of them. Then a year after you fell into your coma, he slipped out of sight entirely. Since then, nothing. No photos, no recordings, not even a reliable rumor as to his whereabouts. I tried every method I could think of, but Zero was gone. Freed of his control, his creation, his power continued to grow. Cypher is a great beast, and Zero was its spine. But even without him, it's endured, evolved. But now its body is rotting, riddled with parasites. Parasites like the ones who attacked you 9 years ago in the Caribbean, and then at the hospital. Cypher's Black Ops Unit, XOF. They learned where you were, and came to wipe the slate clean.
Ok. Alors, on va s'écouter encore une petite cassette.
Ocelot, I hear they started calling you Shalashaska in Afghanistan. What's that about? You know the term Sharashka? It's slang for a suspicious, hastily thrown together organization. The word became associated with a type of forced labor facility in the Soviet Gulag system. OKB scientists and engineers who'd been convicted of crimes were sent to a Sharashka for forced R&D. The Sharashkas were supervised by Lavrenti Beria of the NKVD, the secret police, under the official name 4th Special Department. Forced research? That's not very different from what we do here. Diamond Dogs is different. Everyone here believes in you. Regardless of where they came from or why they're here, they revere you. And they're fighting because it was their choice. And if it wasn't, they'd leave? Who knows? That's our reality here, whether it's real or not. If there's another truth, I don't want to know it. All that matters is that's the concept that's taken shape in their heads. The traces of a group ideology, our superstructure, to put it in Marxist terms. All right. Go on. Right. So anyway, at some point the enemy started calling me Sharashka. This was after the war in Afghanistan broke out. While I was keeping an eye on you in that hospital, I was also heading up interrogations here. The men I broke gave up their comrades and families, everything they wanted to protect them most. No real cause for it. I just let myself get caught up in the old Russian pride. And suddenly I received the honor of becoming Special Interrogation Advisor to the forced labor camps. But the more men I interrogated, the more people saw me as just that, the interrogator. It helped cover my real objective of keeping you safe. You went that far for me? Far enough to keep you alive. I ended up being pretty well known among the Afghan guerrillas. Some of them would have seen me on the battlefield, and that's how I got the second half of the name. Shashka. It's a sword, a type of saber from the Caucasus. Russian dragoons and Cossacks carried them into battle. Now the Russian Empire had a general by the name of Fyodor Arturovich Keller. His bravery earned him the nickname Russia's greatest Shashka. Someone must have known about that, because somewhere along the line, Shashka got stuck on the end of Sharashka. The guerrillas were using the name amongst themselves, and by the time I got to hearing about it, pronunciation had wound up as Shalashashka.
So, half gulag, half hero sword. It was a perfect fit.
But you see how rumors and ideas about people can get out of hand fast. Once you create a character and put it out there in public mind, it warps and twists with every baseless rumor. And before you know it, all people see are phantoms. In my case, it works out just fine. I'm plenty used to working under aliases.
C'est vraiment intéressant, toutes ces petites anecdotes. Je trouve ça très sympa.
He said I was in... You were hospitalized in Dekelia, a British sovereign base area on Cyprus. It's part of British overseas territory that falls outside of Cypriot jurisdiction. You got moved from Cuba's Little America right into Cyprus's Little Britain.
Why Dekelia?
The UK and the US remain close allies. The last place Cypher would think to look for you is inside their own system. That's what kept you safe in British military hospital for 9 years. The safest place from a whale is inside its own belly. You were a regular Geppetto.
Well, it wasn't Pinocchio who led me out to safety. So who was that guy?
Cypher went so far as to attack British territory, burning their own ally. That's how badly they wanted you dead.
He said I was in a British military hospital. But the doctor had a Greek accent.
They hire locally. Easier to trust them. Dekelia is also home to Greek Cypriots, after all.
What about the Turks? They haven't returned to the south.
Not yet. The Cyprus dispute is still a long way from resolved. The country is just as split as it was in '74. Turkish Cypriots in the north, Greek Cypriots in the south. Between them, the Green Line, the UN established.
And Dekelia sits right on top of it.
It does. Part of the buffer zone between the two groups. Another reason it was the perfect place to hide you. Easy to spot any outsiders snooping around.
So how do things stand?
Now, last year, the Turks declared that the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus is an independent state, though it's only Turkey that recognizes it. In the past, the Greeks and Turks lived side by side in the same villages. There are reasons to fight. Those came from the outside. Greece, Turkey, Britain, America, they all had their own stake in pitting the two sides against each other. But once you spark something like this, it's impossible to control. Both sides build up grudges like debt, without the foresight to see that each act of revenge just fans the flames, and then it's too late for other nations to rush in with peace talks. The embers keep on smoldering. Each nation's arrogance only breeds anarchy. The world is paralyzed by this hunger for revenge. Cyprus is no different. Miller told me about what happened in the Caribbean 9 years ago. You do remember Miller. You'd formed a private army with him. An army with no allegiance to a nation.
I remember, but...
I see. You're not sure what's fact and what's a fantasy caused by the coma. It's still all a mess, huh? All I can do is tell you the facts as they were told to me. I've gone easy on you up until now, but this is where the hard stuff begins. 1974, the year before you entered your coma. You were in Colombia, operating with a small unit of men, basically mercenaries. Miller was among them. Miller was trying to find a way to turn his and your talents into a line of work. He was looking to start a business where you would fight on behalf of others around the world, those who needed military force. But the reality was, at that time, you didn't have enough gear to equip your own men. Then Miller came across this client. It was a huge job he was offering, but you had a shot at pulling it off. You accepted it and headed into Costa Rica. The client even threw in an offshore facility in the Caribbean. The mother base, that would be your new base of operations. Miller sure did have a head for business. As your mission went on, your unit grew and grew. More weapons, more money. Before you knew it, you were commanding 300 men. As the organization got bigger, your military powers swelled to match. It got so the international community couldn't afford to ignore you. You were just too damn successful for your own good.
He said I was in a British military hospital. But the doctor had a Greek accent.
They hire locally. Easier to trust them. Dikelia is also home to Greek Cypriots, after all.
What about the Turks? They haven't returned to the south.
Not yet. The Cyprus dispute is still a long way from resolved. The country is just as split as it was in '74. Turkish Cypriots in the north, Greek Cypriots in the south. Between them, the Green Line, the UN established.
And Dikelia sits right on top of it.
It does. Part of the buffer zone between the two groups. Another reason it was the perfect place to hide you. Easy to spot any outsiders snooping around.
So how do things stand?
Now, last year, the Turks declared that the You're up.
We're changing ships?
We can't go sailing the Suez in a whaler.
The Suez Canal. When did they reopen it?
Not long after you were attacked. Once they finished sweeping it for mines after the Arab-Israeli conflict. Can you stand?
Ok, bon.
We're going to transfer to a container ship for passage through the Suez. Our destination is Pakistan, Afghanistan's neighbor to the south. There we disembark and head via Peshawar to the Zero Line, the border. We'll travel to the Khyber Pass by road.
And then?
Continue on horseback. Afghanistan's main roads are under Soviet control. We'll need to go around them. It'll be all narrow, winding paths through the mountains. We'll do better on horseback. It's a little...
Ok, donc on va s'arrêter là. On y écoutera sûrement plus tard. On va relever un petit peu le moral des gardes.
Boss, you need supplies. We're here for you.
Une petite douche. Et on va y aller parce que c'est l'heure de y aller. Voilà, comme d'habitude. On va contempler un petit peu la mer. Oula. Je ne sais pas si on peut tomber, mais j'ai failli. J'étais au bord. Voilà. Sur ce, bonne journée, à bientôt pour une prochaine vidéo. Bye.